I want you to know that I've been living here my whole life, and the streets of the city of New Orleans are awful. This is not a surprise to anybody that rides on the streets of New Orleans. Now, we can have an argument, which I'm sure I'm going to create right now, whether the streets in Lakeview are worse than the streets in other parts of the city. But I assure you, for those of you here tonight, everybody thinks they have the worst streets in the city. So maybe like that ice bucket challenge, y'all could go do, who's got the worst street, and do a program on it. That would be, interesting, to say the least. But let me give you just a sense so that you guys don't think that we've forgotten you or what we're doing. The city has 1,547 miles of city-owned streets. About a third of the streets in New Orleans were kind of in fair or worse condition before Katrina. Since 2010, we've completed 147 projects, 100 miles of streets have been repaired, and 143,000 potholes have been filled. We have spent a bucket load of money on repairing all of the major streets, which is why I was asking about Pontchartrain, and of course y'all know this in Lakeview more than anybody else. And all of the major streets were the ones that we spent money on, because with limited money, the concept was do the streets that most people are going to drive on most of the time. Now, what did happen as a consequence of that is the interior streets did not get the major once-over. And I just want you to remember a couple things. So if we get further discussions about this, 1 mile equals $7 million. Okay, that's the number. Journey, is that the number? 1 mile equals $7 million. And if you add up 1.567 times blah, 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 you get to $9,350 million a year for 20 years. You get a sense of what it is that we have to do. And Robert, I know you know, and Val you know, and Tom you know, and everybody in here, because you're reasonable and thoughtful people, that unless we have a really long discussion and create a sustainable source of revenue over time, we can't even begin, but we have to. And so my team is available to always talk to you guys. I don't see Freddie Yoda here tonight, but Freddie has been working with us.
It was his birthday, and he had a birthday.
It was his birthday. Happy birthday, Freddie. We would be happy to try to work with all of you to think about how to put that thing in place, because we have to start. We have to start. Now, we started, you should pat yourself on the back, because we started with Surge and Waterboard, so about a couple years ago, and the reason we had to start there was because as bad as the streets are, right, they weren't like the pipes that, by the way, were bleeding 40% of our water. And you see these in neighborhoods where the water starts coming up and all of a sudden the street crashes. I asked you guys to increase the Surge and Waterboard thing, which, by the way, had not been increased in like 25 or 30 years. We now, as of today, actually, the new Surge and Waterboard that is experienced is in place. The new executive director is in place, and something historic happened today. Cedric Grant, stand up, Cedric, so they can see you, right, is the new executive director. But that's not historic. I mean, he's super, but that's not the historic part. The historic part is, what's the #1 complaint that everybody yells about with streets? Man, why did you fix the street today? And why is the Surge and Waterboard there tomorrow? And why isn't it coordinated, right? So what I have done, because as you know, Cedric was my deputy mayor of infrastructure, I have allowed him to maintain responsibility over the Department of Public Works and Streets and Surge and Waterboard, so now they're all being governed by one organization and agency. Now, this won't happen as of tomorrow, but you can expect to see much better coordination of street repairs as we go forward. That's our aspiration. I fully expect that he will be able to accomplish that task, but he's going to need your help and your work to do that. So, Robert, our team is open to you. Colonel Jernigan is available. Cedric's available to you. Vince is available to you. To all you guys get together and talk about long-term sustainable sources of funding, and then we'll prioritize. In the meantime, we continue, Cedric and I meet with FEMA, the regional director of FEMA, on a regular basis. We have met with them countless times, and we're actually having a meeting on Monday. One of the things we're negotiating with them is giving us much more money than they have already given us to fix the pipes under the ground. And part of the discussion is if they have to do that, they got to give us road money too. And so we think that we are very close, I'm not going to announce it until it's done, to getting a fairly substantial amount of money that will help us repair or start the repairs on interior streets. And we should know the answer to that by the end of the year. So we'll keep you apprised There's some things we can't talk about publicly because it would just get people's expectations up, and until we have it done, I don't want to talk about it. But we continue to push on the federal government to give us the money that we think we deserve, so it will lessen the amount of money that we have to ask you for. So why don't y'all work with us, and we'll continue.